I need my iPad. Just can't see. Good evening. Good evening. I know I have not been as consistent as I used to be. So I'm waiting for people to jump on here. Tonight we're going to talk about co-parenting. So I'm excited to be on here tonight. It's been a while. Hey, Charles, this might work for you. This might be a good conversation for you. I'm trying to work with my lighting. As you see, I set some things up a little differently. So I had to kind of hang some lighting over here. And yeah, so I'm working with something a little different. If it swings into my camera, I'm going to crack up laughing. But I'm Dr. Torri J. I am the founder and CEO of this lovely foundation called the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And tonight I want to talk about, I'm going to start a series on the pain of co-parenting. And we're going to get into the root causes of co-parenting. I know there are many things that y'all already know, but always got to spin and a twist in a different perspective. So that's what we're coming for. Keep me, last week I wanted to come on, but I have been in like excruciating pain some days where I'm stuck in the bed and I cannot move. I was supposed to have surgery in April. It didn't happen the way that we had intended it to happen. And so there were some things that I had been working out consistently and it really helped. And then some things happened and it laid me out again. So I had been bedridden a little bit in the last few weeks. It's been very difficult. Had to learn how to use Instacart. Living in South Florida where I don't know nobody. It's been a little challenging to have that support system. But just know that if I'm not on here, it's probably because I am not feeling my best, because Healing Tuesdays is something I really enjoy doing. A little bit of a challenge with some of my new normal, but definitely like to come on here and talk about the topics that are at hand with a twist. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Know that I am an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a state certified mediator. I am a cognitive behavioral practitioner. I'm a few things. Today, let me tell you about my day as we get on here. Today, I had an amazing interview, 10 o'clock this morning. It was phenomenal. Oh, my computer trying to slide. It was phenomenal. I actually did an interview from my lovely desk in South Africa, where I was able to speak to young entrepreneurs today. It was about 128 on there. Hey, Kurt, thank you. It was great to talk to them. They were on fire. The chat was going nuts. It was like 120 something on them. I couldn't even keep up. So I had an opportunity to talk to them about entrepreneurship, passion, inspiring them, drive, motivation, that whole thing. There is some really awesome things happening for TFGF. And that is just the beginning of what's going to take place in South Africa. Hey, Lee, how are you? And as we talk tonight, what are your issues around co-parenting? We didn't get into co-parenting in the call or the interview today. I would say it was more of I talked, then they did a Q&A. Bright, absolutely bright individuals. I was like, whoa, they coming with the questions. I'm grateful that I always stay on ready because they came for me. And then someone told them that I sing. And so they were like, a little birdie told us that you sing. And I was like, at 10 o'clock in the morning? And I'd been up since 4 a.m. And so, yes, I did sing for them to close it out, which was interesting. They were all worshiping because it was a song they knew. And then I could see in the chat and they were like, that's my song. So it worked out really well for me because I was nervous. Different cultures, I didn't know how much they knew, what they didn't know. And I was able to give them things that they embraced and were really excited about. And we got into fatherlessness because many of them are fatherless while blazing a trail while trying to open new doors, while doing new things. I didn't tell, but I would have. Tell what? I don't even know what you're talking about. South Africa? I don't even know what you're talking about, Charles. So let's get into this conversation tonight. This is we're going to do a 3-part series, and in the 3-part series, we're going to talk about the pain of co-parenting. As we talk about this pain, I'm going to address 3 areas. 1, missing your children. It's devastating. It even causes depression. Number 2, the causes or the pain of co-parenting comes from the fact that you have to revisit the brokenness of the relationship every time you do an exchange. Number 3, the pain of co-parenting actually exacerbates, and causes you to re-experience the trauma and dysfunction of your childhood. Now, you guys know me. Oh, I didn't tell them that you sing. Oh, hilarious. I got it, Charles. I'm sorry. I'm like trying to focus on this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, you did show up when I was singing at Christmas time. And I'm supposed to do some stuff with Plunge again. We'll figure that out along the journey. But yeah, so these are the 3 areas that I'm going to talk about during this series. So number 1, you miss your children. This is the pain of co-parenting. Tokyo, stop it. Sorry. Number 2, it causes you to revisit the brokenness of the relationship. And number 3, it causes you to re-experience the trauma and dysfunction of your childhood. Y'all know me and you know me well, so I'm going to always go back to your childhood. One of the questions that was asked of me today was, we have to live and deal in life. So how do you get someone to not use their past as a crutch as they move forward, right? As they live in life, as they go forward. There's a place where we're not supposed to use our past as a crutch, but we also have to visit our past in order to move forward. And so anyone who's going to tell you, oh, let the past be in the past and all of that crap, those people are dysfunctional and unhealed. And they're just trying to tell you not to go into your past because they ain't finna go into theirs. I've had to really have some hard talks and understand some hard truths that most of you will never go into your past, but your past is walking with you, hunting you, standing on your shoulder like a little minion saying, hey, do this. And you go along with it, not realizing that it's your past constantly nudging you in a direction that is contrary to the direction you say you want to go. I want to also deal with the fact that, when you're missing your children, when you're revisiting the brokenness, and when you're re-experiencing all of this trauma from your childhood, I want you to acknowledge the fact that you've made some vows to yourself as a child that I won't do this to my children. I'm going to be different. My life is going to be different. And you made that vow, and now you've actually broken the vow that you made to yourself. There's some guilt and shame associated with this. I'll get into a little bit of that, but I just want to put that on the table. And I also want to let you off the hook a little bit. The guilt and shame that you're feeling, I get it. But you also have to recognize that, yes, you made that vow to yourself as a child and even as a young adult. And when you got into your marriage as an adult, or your relationship where you had children, I get it. But this is the craziest part. You didn't get the tools to stop you from doing the same thing. You didn't get the tools to keep you from repeating the cycle and doing the stuff that, that you ended up doing, that you saw your mother and your father do. I'm going to deal with it, but I'm not going to deal with it tonight, but I want to bring it up. Co-parenting is literally about parenting. And many of you are parenting the same way your parents parented. What other example did you have? Ladies, you're manipulating, controlling, and doing all of these different things because you learned that from your mother. And then act like you don't know what's going on. Men, you laying back in the cut. She's causing conflict and havoc, and so are you. But the havoc she's causing is just making you go, I don't even want to be involved. I don't even want to. And so you lay back in the cut, and then you find yourself absent. I saw a statistic last week where it said 27% of men who divorced men end up absent They end up alienated. I'm like, wow, like that's a high number. I know we like, oh, 27, it ain't that bad. That's serious. Hi, Aunt Eldrina, how are you? Um, yeah, that's a high number. That's a high number. And so we got to look at this. So I'm going to read something. I posted it on the Fatherless Generation Foundation page last week, but I want to revisit. Let me find it. I know I pulled it up already. There it is. I want to revisit an article, and it was talking about the pain of divorce, right? Let's name divorce pain. And it was talking about dropping off the kids and how excruciating it is. And I just want to read the first couple of paragraphs because this blew my mind when I read it. Yesterday, I dropped off my four kids in the airport hotel parking lot to spend 2 weeks with their dad, from whom I've been divorced almost 6 years. I helped load them and all of their things, bags and all, into a car service van on their way to the next destination. As their little hands waved out the tinted windows, their faces masked by the darkness, I tried to hold back the tears until they were out of sight, raising my hand high in the air, a smile on my face. As the van turned the corner, I collapsed. My legs grew as heavy as tree trunks. My head toppled forward, and I started wailing. I bent over as if my spine had been plucked through the top of my head, rendering me a rag doll. I was wretched. I'm sorry. Crying from a deep place inside of me, a guttural cry from a deep place inside of me, a place filled with all my love for the kids, an untapped reservoir overflowing with feeling. And like the pain of a nerve being zinged, I howled. I hadn't cried that hard since my mother-in-law passed away from COVID, and I called my father screaming, "She died." It felt like that. Inescapable loss, pain. Now that right there, and I'm not a parent. I don't have to do these exchanges, but I'm speaking about this because I have to manage some more clients who are working on their co-parenting skills. And I kept saying, this is deeper than co-parenting with a narcissist. Oh yeah, I see y'all post. Co-parenting with a narcissist. That's the least of your worries. Okay? Like, we'll get into this. She's collapsing over her children going away for 2 weeks with their father. Nowhere in the article says that she thinks they're unsafe. Does she think that he's going to harm them? Does she think any of that? She collapses. It's a sense of loss and pain. How many of you feel that sense of loss and pain when your children aren't with you? I want you to raise your hand in the chat. Put your hand up if you feel that sense of loss and pain when your children aren't with you, because that's what is causing your conflict. And I'm going to get into that. Narcissism. Yes. But I've told you guys this before. If you really pay attention to the experts in the field of narcissism, we all have narcissistic traits depending on the situation. And most of us aren't diagnosed a narcissist. So that's just the truth. But how many of you feel that sense of loss and pain when you have to exchange your children for the visitation? Nobody? Or y'all not talking? I know how this works. Y'all, maybe I got new people on here because I haven't been on and I'm building up the group again. I like the exchange. I like you to engage me in conversation. Okay, thank you, Charles. I'm like, thank you. Co-parenting is so difficult, period. Yes, so true on the narc part, too, for real. Like, narcissists, like, come on, y'all. Some of y'all just use terms because it's out here. Much of this is much deeper than the narcissistic parent. And we're going to get into this over the next few weeks. I've got my notes here. And so as I have my notes, I'm going to talk to you about some of the things I've put down here in my notes. Caring for our children is rooted in a parent's DNA. It's rooted. And I know, ladies, you're like, well, he don't care and he don't do this. No, he just doesn't parent like you parent. Stop trying to make him be you. And maybe he will be consistent. Maybe he'll be the consistent, active parent. Like I posted that this week and I did it. I didn't have anybody who does our social media management. I haven't even had them do it for a while. Just starting to get things back going again. But I'm going to tell you, I posted it on social media that every child deserves a father. And I just wanted to see which person would jump out and say, as long as he active and consistent. And I was like, I was diplomatic on the page, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. You want me to tell you what I really wanted to say when they said that? I wanted to say, did you ask him if he was going to be active and consistent when you were having sex with him? I was going to say that because no one puts that when people say, oh, every child deserves a mother. No one says, as long as she's not abusive and she's consistent and she's active. No one says that. And something I've been doing these 5-day business, like I'm growing my business, I'm developing, I'm doing things that I need to do to take this to the next level. Africa, how about that? And I did a course last week, a 5-day course last week. And there was something very real when it came to mothers, when we were talking about the emotional aspect. Now, mind you, the course is about clients and business and entrepreneurship. But if we are honest, we've got to recognize that emotions, even our parents, show up in that. That's why I tell people, this thing is, your past and your childhood is following you into every single area of your life. It is why you are limited in your career. It's why promotions don't come as fast to you. It's why you have limiting beliefs and doubts. It's not just surrounding this relationship with this person. It's in all of your relationships. Now, how it manifests may be minimal in some of those relationships, or it may be even more than it is in these co-parenting broken relationships. But you got to know that it's showing up. And the emotional supply that a single mother can provide to her children is not what it should be if she has a balanced life. Many single mothers don't have the balanced life that they should have, and therefore their children are not getting the emotional supply that they need from them, even when you're doing your very best. And so in not getting that emotional supply, you're going to continue to have a child, or you're going to be raising a child who has developmental issues. That's just a side nugget. So as I tell you that caring for our children is rooted in a parent's DNA, that's fathers too. The new normal of living separately leaves you feeling like life has fallen out, like the bottom of your life has fallen out and it's fallen out underneath you. How many of you felt like somebody had just pulled the foundation of your life from underneath you when the relationship was broken and you were no longer in the home with your children, or you were no longer able to see your children as consistent as you were seeing them before? Put a 1 in the box if that's you. I just want to keep you participating, keep you engaged. Most of you knew when the divorce or the breakup happened that wasn't going to be the situation, but you weren't able to stop it from happening. It's a part of the journey, and it hit and it hurt much harder than you thought. You thought, well, I'll see them more time. And then you realize that there's a court system that gives you first, third, and the fifth, whatever that, 2-3 times out of the year. So you get your children 6 days out of the month. That's interesting. And that's if there's no alienation. That's if there's no, interference of custody. It's all of these different things that are happening. But your life now has fallen out from underneath you. And how do you manage that? How do you manage being in a home where this home would have, as they say, the sounds of little pitter patter before and lots of noise, and you'd be like, shut up, y'all making too much noise, quiet it down, blah, blah. And now it's just you. That's a lot to take. Big ifs, yes, very much so. That's a lot to take. Quietness, alone, loneliness is starting to set in. I want you to understand that your pain and your ex's pain is fueling the conflict. It's fueling the conflict. I'm going to tell you how it's fueling the conflict. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. I'm over them. I ain't got no interest in them. Child, I moved on. Then why are you angry? Oh, I don't love them anymore. I'm not in love with them anymore. I don't love them. Well, why are you mad? I'm using that vernacular on purpose. Anger is an emotion. And most times it comes from the fact that there's love. You can't go from loving somebody for 17 years and now you done, and so I don't love them no more. Why are you so mad? That article that I read where she collapsed and all of that, she clearly has another relationship. Someone's with her telling her, hey, let's go do this, let's go do that. And she's like, yeah, let's eat. Don't want to eat. You have to read it. Why mad? No, I'm not. When it comes to that, that's not the part that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the conflict that happens before and in the exchange. Not talking about the alienation of it all. That's a different mad. That's a different context. I'm talking about the fueling of the conflict, the text messages, the phone calls, all the stuff leading up to the exchange, and even at the exchange and all of the hostility. Why are you mad? If you're over them, why are you causing conflict in the midst of the exchange? Why are you causing conflict before the exchange to create tension and conflict during the exchange? I'm not going to answer that for you. I want you to ask yourself that. Any woman who's watching, any man who's watching, you see, like, whatever, like you've seen it. I have clients right now who I'm like, you drove over to her house in the middle of the night / morning because she lied to you and you wanted to prove her wrong. What you gonna say? Gotcha? Like, she lied. She's not in a relationship with you. She doesn't care. And he had his daughter. Yeah, it's communication. But unfortunately, Kurt, the communication is so jacked up because the marriage, the relationship, whatever it was, is broken. And you probably had horrible communication skills in the first place. And so it didn't work even in that aspect. But it does take communication. It takes communication. But I'm asking, like, this conflict that's going on, the conflict is not even necessary, but it's there because there's pain associated with this. There's pain involved in the relationship. I want to give you some things here. The pain of separation can create conflict in following ways. If any of these are you, put a yes in the box. Okay? Conflict is created in the following ways. It causes co-parents to fight for more time because it's difficult to face being away from children. So conflict is even you fighting for more time. Not that you shouldn't fight for more time, dads, but it's how you go about it, right? And I'm not talking about fighting each other. Sometimes you just petition the court, and that's part of the journey. Does that always work? No, it doesn't. Tokyo, I'm gonna get you. This dog is moving around more than a little bit. Number 2, it causes difficulty letting go when the child is at the co-parent's house. And the co-parent may intrude on the time of the other parent because of the difficulty they are experiencing, which can invoke anger and irritation in the other co-parent, to lead conflict. That leads to conflict. I'm sorry, that leads to conflict. Let me tell you something. Yes, Cherie, thank you. She said, it's always personal pride, grudges, hurt, and disappointment. It always is. And it doesn't have to be, but we make it this because we haven't healed. We just break up with people and go on with our lives and get new people and get new spouses, and we ain't even worked through the journey of healing. That's part of the conversation. You got a difficult time letting go because the children are at the other parent's house. So then you start calling, intruding on their time. Yes, you should get some time, but to call consistently and over, and then asking the kids what's going on. Now you're irritating and you're, invoking anger into the situation, leading to conflict. This is crazy. Conflict shows up in the following ways. It contributes to obsessive worries and thoughts about your children. I wonder if they're okay. I wonder if they're doing this. I wonder if they're doing that. I wonder how they're going. I wonder if they're. Number 4, it causes you to worry about how the other co-parent is parenting. And it can exacerbate the pain, leading to accusations and tension. Are you accusing the other parent of abuse, neglect, not allowing you to talk to the kids or whatever it is as a way to create tension and conflict so you don't have to send them back again, so you don't have to endure the pain of co-parenting? I got questions. I got a lot of questions. The reason you don't let the kids go is because you don't want the pain of co-parenting. It's not that you think they're going to be abused. It's not that you think the other parent isn't parenting correctly. And that's none of your business anyway. Any judge will tell you, you do not have the right to dictate how the other parent parents when the children are on their parenting time. You chose them. Live with their parenting skills. Pray and pray some more. Hope they take some classes. These children are not, majority of these children are not going to be abused in the care of this other parent. Not going to happen. But you're worried, and then you create accusations out of your worry. You don't let your imagination run away with you. You have literally allowed your imagination get on the short bus, drive you down the street. You are talking to yourself and to the other parent and to the children, cussing folks out and all of that, and no one's in the house but you. It's just you. Because you've allowed your worries to take over. Just to take over. And then you start coming up with stuff. Oh, wow. I wonder if the kids are safe. I wonder if I don't know. The truth is, somebody's chiming in. The truth is the conflict is what's driving conflict. I'm sorry, let me read this correctly. I am messing up even my own reading now. I wrote it so fast. The truth is it's not the conflict that's driving you and the other parent into all of this stuff. It is the fact that it hurts to be away from your children. So I wrote that really fast. And what I'm trying to say is the truth is it's not just conflict. It's not about the narcissistic parent. It's not about they're horrible people. It's about the conflict is coming from the pain of being away from your children. This is your new normal. Nothing about it can change. I know many people in the world, this 50-50 shared parenting world. Yeah, you'll have them 50% of the time, but the other 50%, they're still with the parent and you're still hurt. Get it? There's still pain. So what are you going to do? Are you going to live 50% of your life because of your children and then be happy during that 50%? Are you going to, and then when they're gone, you're going to live in depression? Because I can tell you that missing your children causes depression, anxiety. Those are things that are just out of control. The one we're going to talk about next week, about revisiting the brokenness of the relationship every time you do the exchange, that's working on your PTSD. You've got to learn to manage your emotions. But you got to know you got emotions first, right? That's mindfulness. Thinking about what you're thinking about, paying attention to your emotions and your feelings. We've discussed feelings, and I even put a feelings chart on here before. Go down. I don't know how far down it is. It's pretty far. But go down. I want to say I did that in maybe March. Here's a feelings chart. It talks about your feelings. Google it. You got to know how you're feeling. You just don't get to suppress this stuff. And that's what many of you do. You suppress it in new relationships. You suppress it in drinking. You suppress it in your drug of choice. That's honest. You suppress it in work. You suppress it in busyness. You suppress it in shopping. You're just suppressing these emotions. And it's not getting any better. And your co-parenting situation is getting worse. And some of you, the only time you show emotion is when you're in a courtroom and you're angry, because it's the only emotion you know how to show. It's the only one. It's time we start showing vulnerability. It's letting people know, you know what? I'm hurt by this. And it's causing me a lot of pain. I want you to start thinking about what you're obsessing about. Like thinking about what you think about. And cutting off. Don't get on the bus. Remember that short bus I talked about a moment ago? Don't get on the bus. Because you're getting on the bus and you're driving it down the street, I'm telling you. And it's creating a hell of a trauma situation and dysfunctional situation for not only you and your ex, but also your children. They're experiencing it. They're living it. Not to minimize where you are, but I need you to know that this is going to pass. It's going to get better. The only way it gets better is if you get better by doing the work. The only way it gets better is if you take the time to acknowledge that I do feel this pain. Yep. And you know what? This pain isn't just from now. This is some pain that I haven't dealt with for years. This is some pain that I brought with me into this relationship. This is some pain that's at the root of it. It's my mother. It's my father. At the root of it, it's all of my disappointments built up on top of everything. At the root of it, it's my father wasn't there for me, and I didn't get the lessons that I needed to learn as a woman, dating a man and interacting with a man, or as a man. He never told me I was a man, and he never told me that I had what it takes. He never gave me that rite of passage into manhood, and so I'm still struggling with my development. That's how it passes. Cherie's like, wait a minute. Cherie, now. She's like, wait a minute. What are you doing on here? Hello. I saw that on there. I get you. Cherie, I know you don't know when I'm going to be on here. You didn't hear me earlier. I've just not been feeling my best. That surgery I was supposed to have didn't take place the way it was supposed to in May. But I did post like days ago that I would be talking about this. I did. And so I've got 2 other sessions. Like I'm going to do this series, but I'm on number 2 here. This too shall pass. I want you guys to know that you got to find ways to manage your stress. You got to find ways to manage it, right? And in finding ways to manage your stress, that's going to help alleviate some of this. Stop sitting in the bed. Stop sitting in the dark. Stop. And I know that's easier said than done. And I know you can sit here and say, well, what you know about it? You're not a parent. No, I'm not a parent, but I go through things. I go through trauma. I'm going through some stuff right now. And yes, I do sit in the dark when I desire to sit in the dark, but I also go exercise. I went and got in the water today at the beach. Whew, felt like bath water. It was amazing. And I needed that. I needed a place where I could let go and just let my body float. That was a way, it was like an example of just letting go, Torri, because the tension, and it's, oof. Even my chiropractor, he's like, girl, you tense. He even told me, he said, right here, he said, that's tight. He said, you know what that is? And I said, no. He said, that's where you store all your anger. I was like, oh, Jesus. The most tense place on my body is anger. That was a lot. That was an eye opener. Oh, well, I don't know if she would agree with that, but I got you. I do my best. I've done my best with that. I've done my best. I am Tokyo's mama, but I'm going to be somebody else's mama. very soon. I'm intentional. That is my life right now. Everything's about being intentional. I do desire children. I just didn't want to be a single mother. And so living my life in a certain manner ensured that I didn't. And I ain't going to let nobody try to fill in the blank for me. So, no, I did not have any abortions. No shame to those who did, but that's not my journey. But yeah, I saw the pain of my single mother's journey. And I refused to take that journey. And I wanted to wait until marriage. And that just happened a little later in life for me. That wasn't the issue that stopped me from being able to have children. But I definitely, I'm looking forward to that new phase very soon. Not going, yeah, because that too shall pass. That's an emotion. No, I don't, like you guys, you feel let's candid moment. You feel the pain of not being able to see your children. I feel the pain of being a 47-year-old woman who doesn't have children and wanted children, still want children. And no, there's nothing wrong with my body that I can't have children. Okay? Because I get those inboxes too. It's all a pain. And that puts me in a room in the dark quickly, crying, wondering why. Quickly. Okay? So realize that everybody has their struggles, but we've got to figure out how to cope and manage those struggles. Exercise is one of them for me. I don't know if that's for you, but you got to find a way to move your body to manage the stress. You got to find places to create and be creative in order to alleviate some of the stress. Too many of you are going to dysfunctional coping mechanisms that are getting you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the situation you say you don't want. It's just the reality. It's getting you more into more trouble. And as you get into more trouble, it's keeping you away from your children or causing you not to have time with your children or putting you in a position where you're even more depressed and upset when they're not around. You've got to have a life. You've got to find a way to have a life when they're not around. You have to. I have lots of friends who deal with this. I'm not someone who doesn't have empathy just because I don't have children. I've watched my best friend go through this. I have a friend who is from Trinidad. He's now living in Holland, and he has children who are in St. Vincent and who are in Trinidad, because the oldest one has now moved to Trinidad, that he wants to see. But due to COVID and then all the COVID restrictions, it's been difficult for him to go back or also get the children there to visit him and his new relationship and his new child. And the times of sadness and depression are real. They're very real for him. And just trying to give him ways to manage and cope while not having his children present. And not just not present, but they're in a whole nother place. He lives in Holland, not Michigan, not in the US, okay? Yeah. 2 hours from Amsterdam. And his children are all the way in the Caribbean islands. Yes, it was a choice to move. Yes, it was a decision that was made. But only this person knows who it is. So, and Vark would know who it is. But yeah, because when you go visit and you use coping mechanisms, dysfunctional ones, then you create a child in a different country and you got to be a father. And this is the child you can be a father to. His daughter is lovely. Like, I love watching her and talking to her. She speaks 3 languages and she's only 4. Okay, let's see what this says. My life is my house. Can't replace my kids, but it is something to focus on. And honestly, could not deal with it if not for the support of my fiance, family, and friends. Well, let's have that conversation too, because that's another part of coping. Who are you surrounding yourself with? In your darkest hour, your darkest moments, who are you surrounding yourself with? I get this young man is saying that his house, probably building, working on, doing those things, that's where he's managing his stress. And no one's asking you to replace your children. What we're asking you to do is when they are not with you, how are you spending your time other than worrying, being depressed, drinking, stressing, sleeping around with different people, men and women? That's not just a male thing. Did you guys know that the ACEs test, the higher you score, it actually determines promiscuity? Something I learned in a session a few weeks ago. Like, whoa. I don't know if you got to taken the ACEs test. That's the Adverse Childhood Experiences test. It's a thing. You better say that, Cherie. Isolation is tricky because the enemy loves to play with your mind and emotions. Isolation is tricky for that fact, but it's also tricky for the fact that as is the enemy's playing with your mind and your emotions, he's getting you to think that isolation is the safe place, but isolation is the place where you continue the same patterns and behaviors. That's why you've got to have the family and friends, the fiance. Got to have people who surround you, love on you, speak hard truths to you, don't lie to you, not manipulating you, not controlling you. Yeah. Healthy isolation is good, but unhealthy isolation is deadly. Come on, Cherie. And too many of us choose the deadly path. Too many of us are living in isolation, in darkness, when we can't see our children due to the conflict, due to the pain. Because the conflict just makes the pain more and more. Like the conflict's just upping the ante to the pain. And how are you going to navigate? Like, how are you navigating that? How are you living through that? Kurt said, I had very few friends to do this. What do you mean? Meaning to do this with you and journey through this with you? And if that's what you're saying, I want to know. Yeah. Kurt, I'm going to keep this up here right now, because this is the part I can't stand about you men. And I'm going to say it boldly. I can't stand it about you guys. I remember one of the questions Vark asked me back in April is, do you really support men or you don't? Well, clearly I do. But I'm going to call you out, and I'm going to call you stupid when you make stupid decisions, not to your face, but in my house. And you're not going to know that I'm calling you stupid. Be clear. I'm like, that was the dumbest thing ever. This is why you don't have time with your kids. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm saying that in my house. Then I get on the phone with you and I encourage you and I cheer you and I coach you and I do all of that. But one thing you guys do horribly is share your journey and your story with your homeboys. And when your homeboys are going through dark moments and all of this stuff, you guys are horrible at rallying around them. Horrible. Why? Because you didn't make it out either, like you suffering with your own stuff? You know, I learned that group sessions are some of the most powerful at transforming and healing in males, especially males. You know, and I'm not talking about where you sit and just go kumbaya and how horrible and what, but some of you guys need to just really, Cherie, yes, I got to look at this next statement, but some of you really have to find a way to reach out. But some of you make it hard when a man does reach out. You either pat him on the back and give him nothing but reinforcement of the dysfunction because you don't know anything either. The worst place is patting a man on the back who's reaching out to you for help because he don't know how. And he's telling you he doesn't know how. Ladies, men don't know how to do everything we're asking them to do. FYI. Should they? They grew up in the household the same way you did without a father. So they're lacking some material, some key developmental areas. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. We got the whole toolbox. Black Girl Magic, Girls Inc., Girls Rock, all this stuff we have. Where's that for the boys? Give it to me. Give me a name, because I ain't seen it. I haven't seen it. But I gotta go with Kurt on this. You guys are horrible with this, and you have to be better as friends. And even one of my clients, and the reason I'm so passionate about this, Kurt, because I just had this call last night with one of my clients on the fatherhood call. And we were talking even last week. He's in a fraternity, the Divine Nine. He's an alpha. And he was like, his ex is using her sorority sisters in a certain county, that's a small county, to create a situation that's difficult for him because they're connected. He called his fraternity brothers and they was like, well, we can't really get involved, blah, blah. But her girlfriends are over here pulling the strings at the courthouse, leaving little, dropping little things, dropping little stuff. May not really fully be, but it's enough drops that it's raising some eyebrows. But the Divine Nine, the fraternity brothers, no, we can't get involved. As if y'all don't have attorneys that can help some of your brothers. If anyone should be talking about fatherhood, and I'm calling y'all out on here, Kurt, you sparked something in me, and I'll get to some of the other stuff. We still got time. You inspired me. If anyone should be involved in fatherhood, if anyone should be helping men gain access to their children, it should be the fraternities, the Black fraternities. I did do some work with Omega Sci-Fi, so I'm going to pull back on some of you. But I'm going to tell you, I got issues with that. You show up during Father's Day. But what are you doing the rest of the year when your homeboys and your frat brothers and your line brothers can't see their children? And they're trying to figure out how to do that. Are you having talks, panel discussions, getting on virtually, being a part, coaching them? Y'all got life coaches and all this other stuff in there. Why are you guys not being that part of the fatherhood? Love covers a multitude of sins. Why? Because they got themselves into it? Yeah. But even God himself says that you cry out and I'll deliver you out of all of your troubles, even the ones you got yourself into. Who are you to just judge somebody and not help them because they got themselves into a situation? It is time that the brotherhood, and I'm speaking specifically right now to Black fraternities. You'll see this. Somebody gonna say something. Hey, Corey. Look, hey, Pastor Corey, I'm not being nice right now. You jumped on at the wrong time. But I'm telling you, it's time that you guys, you're just doing community service, so you say, and partying? Come on, y'all. You were created to do something better than this. And to wash your hands with your brother while the sisterhood over here hooking her up. We have to help men find better support systems. They're crying out. They're crying out. I heard that, Corey. Wait a minute. I got to tell this story really quickly, and then I'm going to go back to some of your comments. Pastor Corey and I ministered at a conference in Dallas. You guys have never seen me in my fullness ministering word of God fully in that way. And Pastor Corey was sitting next to me right before I went up to speak, and he mentions to me, he was like, now be nice. Be nice. I'm nice. I'm just a different kind of nice. And I come for you. When I'm standing up there ministering in the pulpit, it's a different come for you. I have a different anointing on me. Okay, going back to this comment, spending time fixing the house, working on my relationships with my family, mom, dad, and sister, and of course, my fiance. This isolation has strengthened my family. See, that's different. That's that healthy isolation Cherie was talking about. I want to make sure I saw. Oh, yeah, Cherie said, Mass smiles, suffering in silence, very much so. This is the more accountability. This is where I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about fraternities. And I'm not being specific to Black fraternities, trying to make it a race thing. I'm not. But if fatherlessness is 75, almost 75% African American, and you got all these brothers in the fraternity, then I'm going to call them out. So sorry if you are a different race. I hope you understand where I'm coming from when it comes to that. Couldn't agree more. Too many suffer in silence, especially men. Many men can't get the help that they need because they won't speak up. Blind leading the blind, Cherie, all day. And it's unfortunate. We attract who we are, right? It's this place of this vibration, this place that we are, yeah. And that's why professional help is needed. A therapist is always something you need to draw to. I've left some of my points, but therapy, I tell you guys all the time, you need a therapist and you need a coach. I did the work, obtained primary, and learning every day to improve. That's what men have to do. And sometimes you got to take a woman's class in order to learn how to parent in a certain type of way, because some of these classes aren't geared, like they don't have classes like that all the time with men in every area. With love. Yeah, with love. You hold people accountable with love and in love. Love does conquer all. And we back to Corey saying, be nice. Look, Cherie, here we go. You keep it 100 always, no sugar coating, and I love it. Cherie, you know better than anybody. We'll tell our story one day. Yes, Kurt, correct. They was raised to suck it up and move on. Yeah, that's not what being a man is. That is not the answer. Suppressing doesn't make you a man. It makes you a ticking time bomb. Boom. Cherie, I'm using that as a quote. That's a quote. I'm quoting Cherie this week because that's it right there. Suppression does not make you a man. It makes you a ticking time bomb. That goes into when we were talking about living with a mama's boy and raising one. That was a book that some friends of mine wrote that we actually had them on and interviewed them. And there was one, I think he was called The Ticking Time Bomb. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Many of you are ticking time bombs. Someone said on here that God is a great help. It's a great way to manage it. It's a great way to manage your stress. I would have never made it through this season if I didn't know God was on my side and walking with me in his presence very real. I'm learning a lot about myself. Good things. Great things. I've also learned some of the things that I've needed to work on, right? I told you guys that I even took a words of affirmation course, because when you have a critical mother and you grew up that way, you have a critical mind. And once things go bad and you're stressing and you just get real hypercritical. And I didn't have the ability to affirm Varric. I didn't have the ability. Just like men don't know how, ladies don't know how sometimes either. And I didn't know how to affirm him after so much of the stuff that was happening. And so that was the beauty of taking the words of affirmation class. I'm finding a balance now because there's a class, like I said, I took last week, and I've been taking a lot of self-help courses and working with coaches. There's a place where you do the words of affirmation and you put the positivity on it. But there's also a place where you embrace and hold and feel, where your body feels the pain. And you don't just put a positive word over it. You actually hold it and say, you know what? I feel you. That's real. And I got you. I don't know how to work through it all, but I feel you. Just sometimes acknowledging, I was in pain and my fibroid was just kicking my butt. Felt like I had a 10-pound water balloon sitting on my uterus and it was pushing my back. And I was and I did a meditation and I just held my stomach and I was just like, I feel you and you're there. And the pain went away. It did. It went away for 24 to almost probably 48 hours. Because that's where I'm stressing. That's where I hold all my stress. And I'm telling you, Yes, sometimes there's words of affirmation, but there's also the acknowledgement of pain and not suppressing it. Sometimes words of affirmation feel like you're lying to me. It's not reality. So I've had to find the balance in that. I've had to really work hard at finding the balance in that for myself. If you can't do it for yourself, you damn sure can't do it for somebody else. And that's the truth right there, Cherie. It's relational. Relationship with God to know that you aren't walking alone. And even with God, you do feel alone to some degree. But also realizing that healing does require some of that isolation, as was discussed earlier. Because that isolation is allowing you to develop specific relationships and also cutting off other ones. I had to write down, why are you talking to them? Why you talk to her still? Like, you know better than talking to her. I've had to push certain friendships aside and I can tell you guys, I only have women who have been married for 30 plus years covering me in this season. My pastor is the only one who's been married, I think 16 years, just a few weeks ago. Everyone else is 30 plus. One lady's 52 years covering me in this season. Why? Because they've been here and they've done this. And they have the how. When I'm not feeling my best, I can get to texting at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But it took me men saying what I needed. And it also took me initially having a group of about 20 women around me to now I'm down to 5, really 4. You got to know who your core team is in the different moments. And I learned very quickly who the core was and is. They keep it real. Oh, they keep it godly. It's prophetic. It's what God is speaking. And if God ain't speaking, they not saying. And even when I'm texting doubt, go look at your journal, Torri. Nope. Don't feel that in my spirit. That's not what God's saying to me. And I'm like, how are you so positive? This is so crazy. And they're like, nope. That's what every person needs, especially those going through co-parenting issues. Now, there are groups out there. I know Jenna Noble has a co-parenting group, and there's a few other who have co-parenting groups. And I can tell you, they're out there. But some of you just need to you might need to be the leader and call other men that you know who are going through and saying, hey, we're going to get on here virtually and we're going to talk about this. Because there's no way that these men aren't in pain. Anyone who tells you, oh, yeah, I don't feel no pain, oh, go on and get a divorce, it's I'm good on the other side. And you look at their pictures and stuff, you be like, boo, you are not good. You lying. You just want somebody to join your circle of pain and misery. You ain't good. It was something you had to do and it's out of your control. That's what people are doing. Oh, I'm good. I don't see my kids, but I'm good. That's oppression. And that's why women think you guys are good. Because when people ask you how you doing, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. Tell people how you feel, for real. I was in line and get my salad mix at Gordon's. And I asked the young man ringing me up, how are you doing? And he said, you really want to know? And I said, yeah, I asked. And he gave me a spiel for about 1.5 minutes. And I said, okay, I got you in prayer. But he was shocked that I really wanted to know. When people ask you how you doing, say you really want to know, and then tell them. Don't waste a lot of time. Just cut it short. I'm hurting because I can't see my children. And I really want to see my kids. Some people might be like, they crazy, blah, blah, blah. But you might meet the right person. You never know. I'm not asking you to co-parent. I'm not asking you to co-parent solo. What I'm asking you to do is realize that the conflict is coming from the pain. And that, see, here we go again. But when you deal with the narcissist, nope, I'm not asking you to co-parent solo. I'm not even asking you. This is not I said it earlier. This ain't about narcissism. This is about pain. You guys keep going with the cliches and this is a narcissist. This person is a narcissist. Did you call them a narcissist before that became the term of the century? The term of 2020 and 2021? These people are living in pain. You chose someone who has trauma, and the trauma manifested in your relationship. And now the breakup and the divorce and the damage that is done is now creating pain that is now creating conflict. Kurt, exactly. I'm saying it again. Everybody has narcissistic traits. Hey, hi, my name is Dr. Torri J. Evans Barton, and I have narcissistic traits depending on the situation. We all have them. Go actually study it. It's healing. People can tell when I don't have my kids versus the weekend I see them. And Gabriel, that's something you've got to work on. I get it. But you want to be able to live your life in its fullness with your children and when they're not with you. Because the truth of the matter is they're coming back, right? He said when they're with him and when they're not with him. So I'm believing that Gabriel has time with his children. He has parenting time with his children. I don't think he's saying that because he's alienated. Some of you, yours aren't coming back just yet. You got some more work to do, meaning whether that's court. I don't know what the situation is, so I'm not going to speak on it. But healing is necessary, Cherie. I'm not asking you to co-parent solo. I'm asking you to do your part, though. And part of your part is healing. It's healing right here. Healing is necessary. Total healing, as much healing as you can do. You can't co-parent solo. That's very true. But when you do your work and your part, exchanges don't have conflict leading into them and while they're happening. Because you're not even triggered by the conflict. Yes, own your part no matter how big or small it is. See, what's causing the conflict is the pain, but then somebody's triggering somebody. Once you walk into this place of healing, into this place of dealing with the pain, going to therapy, getting a coach, crying, allowing the grief to move through. Stop burying your grief. Having children alive, walking around that you can't see is a whole nother level of grief and heartbreak that I cannot explain. You have to move through grief and you can't push it away and you can't bury it. I need you to find creative outlets, hobbies, activities that engage you. And there's nothing better than getting with a group of guys or reading a book about somebody else who went through the journey and who overcame it. Difficult times coming out on the other side. What is that's a question. Focus on healing. Everything else will follow. What's the difference between healing and distraction? Suppression. Healing focuses on what is causing the pain. Let's go here. You cut yourself. Do you act like you didn't cut yourself and just let yourself bleed? Healing is providing the proper tools to stitch it up, to clean it up, stitch it up, and then put all the right ointment on it to ensure that minimal scarring, right? You may see some scars, but it'll be minimal scarring. Distraction is you just going to bleed to death. You're just going to keep bleeding to death? Or you're going to go get the tools to help you deal with the pain. If you cut yourself deep enough, guess what? They give you some pain medication. And in some ways it's minimizing or suppressing. We'll use the suppressing of the pain. Because some of this pain is so deep, you're not going to be able to deal with it all at the same time. And you're not going to be able to deal with it without taking deep breaths. You're not going to be able to deal with it without actually like having someone walk you through it and holding your hand and hugging on you and loving on you. Cannot allow distraction. I know the saying, I'm old enough, ain't nothing better than getting over old booty is new booty. No, you just compounded your trauma. Because the new booty is probably just the same person, different body. Meaning same person mentally, mindset, emotionally. You just ain't seen it yet. Different body. So now you got compounded trauma. So distractions are temporary and suppressing. Absolutely. And they tend to get you into more trouble. Healing is attacking that thing at the root. Some healing is attacking it at the root. You have to be intentional about finding a path of healing that does attack it at the root. Some therapists do not have the ability to deal with this. Good question. But what if whatever cuts you continues cutting you? Do you continue curing that wound or stop what is cutting you? You stop what is cutting you, meaning you're going to heal yourself. I said this, like, I need you to know, you're going to heal yourself. You're going to do the work on yourself, because then that person's actions, their trauma and all of that stuff, it won't trigger you, and then they can't cut you. They're going to be slicing and dice and they'll never hit you. You've seen a boxing match when the Vaseline is on their face, it slides off and the hit's funny. They're not going to be able to hit you. They're not going to be able to cut you. The cutting is you haven't healed the first cut. So you keep going back for more cuts. You have to continue to heal the cuts. And I do, Gabriel, I get what you're talking about. I'm going to say it. I know she'll watch it. She up at 3:00 in the morning watching these things. I'm like, why you always mentioning me? I'm going to say it again. My mama does this. She does it. Just when I think I ain't about to get cut and I think I'm healed and whole or whatever, I get sliced again. I'll be like, why the hell do I continue to talk to this person? Why do I keep putting myself in harm's way? Is that what the conversation you're having with yourself? Yeah, it's the conversation we all having with ourselves about one relationship or another. Why do I keep doing this? Now, the cuts aren't as deep, but I'm still getting some surface level cuts. And I'm in a place where I got to make a decision. Do I continue to allow them to cut me? Or do I stop what is cutting me altogether? Now, Gabriel, if this is the mother of your children you're co-parenting with, you can't stop being around that person to a certain degree. But if you do the work on you, and that's really, I have to do the work on me too. I'm also learning some stuff about healing the Black mama wound. That's the thing. There's a lady she's got a whole podcast on it and some classes. Y'all wouldn't believe how many classes I'm taking right now. It is crazy. Heal before you find another, period. What you're going to do is attract the same person, different body. And then wonder how you got 2 crazy baby mamas or 2 crazy baby daddies. Or ex-husbands and ex-wives. However y'all want to look at it. Different cultures, different terms. However you want to look at it. But it's time we work on dealing with the pain and not the narcissistic parent. It's pain, you guys. It's not narcissism. It's pain. Yes, my ex, she hurts me through my children. I don't blame her completely. I blame these courts to allow her to use my children to hurt me. I get it. I don't know if anyone can be blamed that can actually, be held accountable. You can't really hold the courts accountable. And she's hurting you through the children because she's got some type of pattern behavior that was taught to her that's causing her to do this. And it comes from her pain. This is about pain, people. I'll say it again. It's pain, not narcissism. Narcissism may be a manifestation or narcissistic traits. Because once again, there are very few people who are diagnosed as narcissists, like full blown. Diagnosed, be clear on the word. And I know this because I've read the documents. I have watched enough stuff. And I'm telling you, I've gone because y'all was using this term in every shared parenting and father's rights group. It was driving me nuts. It was driving. And I was like, I got to find out the truth on this. And I'm telling you, it's pain, Gabriel. The saying goes, hurt people hurt people. That's a real thing. It's the pain. Pray about her pain. Pray that she begins to acknowledge and the heartbreak and the pain that she's gone through is lifted. And I know, look, you like pray for her. What you mean? Your children are with this person majority of the time. You've got to pray for her. Absolutely, Kurt. Oh, he said, yep, from her mother. Man, and let me tell you something. The pain from your mother is worse than the pain from your father, your absent father. It's tough. Female and male, deal with pain differently. Absolutely. Unfortunately, you guys tend to suppress yours a lot more than we do. And we show ours a lot in emotion, but we don't have the tools all the time to actually deal with it and know what we need to do with it. So we're super and hyper emotional, but we still have pain and we got to deal with it, whether it's differently or whatever. You have to deal with it. My fiance and I do every day and every night. Okay. So yeah, this is about her pain. This isn't about narcissism. This is about her trying to inflict the pain on you that she feels in her own journey. And I don't know when you came on, but when the children are with you, she feels an absence and a loss and a pain that's excruciating. And that's what's fueling the conflict. Cherie said generational trauma. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And we keep repeating the cycles. We keep choosing evil over good, which is generational. We keep choosing the breakup versus working through it. Sometimes some of these relationships, just keeping it real with y'all, some of these relationships y'all could have worked through. And if it wasn't you, the other person could have worked through it, but they chose not to. And so now we're here. We chose the thing, and not you. Maybe you were the one who chose it. Maybe that other person chose it. But we tend to choose the route that we feel is safe, but that route is rooted in comfort and familiarity. It's not rooted in growth. It's not. So you choose to cause harm or hurt to a person because you're like, you know what? I don't know how, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I don't know what to do. So we gonna bounce. And now you've repeated a generational curse. It happens that easily because comfort and familiarity become the choice and the priority. And now you're inflicting pain. And now you're in a position where your children are now involved in the pain, and you have now created a new cycle. So I'm going to finish. I'm Dr. Torri J. Evans Barton. I'm the founder and CEO of this amazing foundation called the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I'm going to continue this series next week, where I'm going to talk about the pain of co-parenting is happening because it causes you to revisit the brokenness of the relationship. We're going to get into that part next week. Revisiting the brokenness of the relationship is every time you see that person, you got to face that person that you cheated on, that you did whatever to, and they're thinking that, oh, he cheated on me or she cheated on me. That's what's happening. So we're going to deal with that next week. And I'm going to say it every time I'm on here until whatever needs to happen happens. But keep Vark and I in your prayers. We need them. And there's some great things that are happening. I keep pushing. Y'all stay safe. And I'm sorry, I can't read all of that. I'll read it later, and I may inbox you about it. Okay. But yeah, you guys stay safe out here in these COVID streets. And whether you mask it, vaccinated, whatever, I don't know. That's up to you. That's none of my business. The next person who asks me if I'm vaccinated, I'm gonna ask them, do they have an STD? I can be vaccinated all I want to be. That ain't none of your business. Like, that's crazy to me. I do what's necessary for me. And you guys stay safe. Um, stay away from crazy people. How about that? And I will talk to you guys next week. I promise to be on here next week, even if I'm in pain, because this is a conversation that needs to be had. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.